So Jahlani Tavai was a second-round pick last year that Detroit got. A lot of people didn't love it because they sort of felt like, smaller school, people didn't really know who he was. They felt like it maybe been a reach, but he's clearly shown exactly why this Lions team decided to go out and draft him with a second-round pick, because he's really good. He's had plenty of splash moments. I think one thing that he does really well will be shown on a play like this, where what's going to happen is that it's essentially, so what you see is that there's going to be the center who has a one-on-one matchup, the right tackle has a one-on-one matchup, and the right guard, who oftentimes would just be blocking Tavai straight up, he's actually going to go over and block somebody else. Instead, it will be a tight end who's going to run over, he's going to shoot the gap, he's going to try to get to Tavai. That's the way this play is designed to work. And it can make some sense. I mean, this kind of move, it can get you a blocker further over, which basically means that you get an extra blocker closer to where you want to run the ball to. Obviously, the disadvantage of this is that if a defensive player can make a play, you have less options as a halfback, but it can be a very good thing to do. However, take a look at what happens right when this ball is snapped, and one thing you're going to notice is that Tavai runs very quickly in. Notice how he takes like 4 or 5 steps in right away. He didn't know what was happening. He didn't know if it was going to be a run in his direction. He didn't know if there was going to be a block in his direction, but he did know one thing. Stay where you are, stay into your gap assignment, but also get closer, because it can always help you to move the line of scrimmage back a few yards. I also like where he positioned himself when there is this contact, where he's not hitting this, Charger player dead on. He has moved to the side a little bit, so he's kind of hitting him on an angle like that, which again, talk about this in pass rushing a lot, where you don't want to, hit somebody straight on, get him to the side, but it works just as well in this situation when, it's essentially the same move, just, two positions that don't typically go at it like that. But he's doing a good job of keeping to the side, so that way he's not really going to get moved too far, and he can also, not get pushed too far back. And also, the one last thing in doing this is that it makes it more difficult for the back. He can't just run straight through. He's instead going to try to cut to the left side of the screen. Tavai and a teammate is able to help run over and make the tackle. They're only able to gain 2 yards on that play. Just a pretty good play by Tavai, I think. And that's kind of what he really does so well for the Lions, is that he just makes those quick reads, and then he makes those, he realizes what's going on in a split second, and he's quick enough that he can do something about it as soon as he realizes what's going on. This play is a great example of that. I'm not even going to get into the X's and O's. I'm just going to basically talk about what happened. So what you see in those 2 black circles is that there's a receiver in motion, and so this is bringing a defensive back into motion as well. So nothing too fancy right here, and Tavai is obviously the one in the white circle. That's the way it's working. But what you're going to notice with the defensive back, Slay, who's moving up to the top of the screen, is that him and Tavai just aren't on the same page, really, with this motion, and it's going to kind of get him in the way of Tavai. So he bumps into Tavai, so now while Tavai would have loved to run over and try to clog up this lane, try to push the line back and not allow the back to be able to run into the end zone, didn't quite work out that way, so now he's been pushed back, and now he kind of has to, basically look over, and he sees that he is as far away from the line as the halfback is. This is not a great situation. But he also notices one more thing, and it's that, okay, so there's a lot of, big guys on the line right there, no window whatsoever for him to try and run through. So the only thing he could really do, the halfback that is, would be to jump over and try to reach the ball over the line, get it to be a touchdown. That's what he could try and do here. But for Tavai, he's thinking, okay, well, if he does that, I'll just try to punch the ball out when he does it. And that's going to be exactly what he's able to do. And the ball goes out, and Detroit is able to get it. I mean, just a great play when really the only reason that even happened was because things went wrong that weren't supposed to. Where, his own teammate ran into him, which disrupted the play early on. But he was still able to stay with it, realize what's going on, and make an incredible play. That was a big swing in that game. I mean, that play was the reason the Lions won that game, really. I do think that he's a very fast guy. He's quick, especially just watching him. He gets to his spots very quickly. It can work in many ways. One of those is blitzing. The Lions don't blitz much, but when they do, they have success with it. This is an example where you're going to see the left guard, left tackle, and then the halfback all have someone to block. But because of this sort of overloaded blitz that Detroit is going through here, someone's going to be able to get through completely unblocked, and that someone is going to be Tavai. The only exception would be if the tight end was blocking on this play, but he isn't. So everyone is going to get blocked except for Tavai. Tavai is going to get a straight shot. And watch how he's able to get there so quickly where he runs around, but is still able to get a perfect angle to get to Trubisky, even though Trubisky stepped up in the pocket, which really was the best way he could have tried to get around that. It was good awareness of knowing how fast he had to go at certain points, but also just good speed, and he was able to get there quickly, and he was able to make the play quickly. And that's kind of the thing I like about Tavai is that, listen, I've had my problems with, with this entire coaching staff. I've said it before. Lions don't love it when I say it. Well, some Lions fans do. Some Lions fans don't. But I think Matt Patricia is a very bad coach. I do. That being said, I think that Tavai is the perfect player for his system. And I'm not going to pretend like he isn't just because I don't love the coach. I mean, listen, maybe I'll be wrong and it'll work out next year. I just think that I don't think it will. But I've been wrong before, and this video isn't about Patricia. I do think that Tavai is someone who he's really perfect for a system where a coach can kind of just let him do whatever or do a lot of different things, I should say, and that's what Patricia does for Tavai, and it works out perfectly. I think that wherever Tavai goes throughout the course of his career, hopefully he will have coaches who do that, because Patricia, for all his faults, has used Tavai pretty perfectly. I don't think that's controversial to say. Like, watch, this is another play of what I'm talking about where he can really just run in and make big plays. It's going to be a center and a left guard, both making a wedge on those two Detroit players. The fullback runs through. He blocks Tavai. So one-on-one matchups across the board. Tavai going up against the fullback. A lot of guys will maybe try to, just get around the fullback. Not Tavai. He's going to run in and just hit it dead on, which is, first of all, painful, but second of all, it's really important because what he can do now is, A, he can potentially get into the play, but B, he's just closing that gap so much more because typically the fullback, if he can run and get past the offensive line and then make his block, you now have a much bigger hole to run through. But the problem when, that's not happening is that now a fullback has to try and run through. He makes the block, but since the block is getting made in the gap, now it's going to be very easy for a Lion to just reach out and make a tackle. That ends up being exactly what happens, and they're not able to gain any yards on that play. And it was really just because Tavai saw what was happening, shot the gap quickly, and wasn't afraid to take a hit on a fullback because he said, listen, that's what I have to do. That's what's going to help our team win. So, really good play from him, I think. One more play. This one's a very fun one. Very fun. Where it's going to be, the way it's going to work for Minnesota is to have their center. He's going to kind of start off blocking a defensive lineman, and then he's going to run over and block Tavai. His left guard finishes off the block. So, basically for Tavai, the way it works is that he's going to have a center blocking him, which is already not the worst thing in the world, although, he's a linebacker, so it's not quite like a defensive lineman going up against the center. But also, it's going to take the center a little bit to get there because, he has to make sure that he moves the defensive lineman to his guard first before he can run over and block Tavai. However, the problem is that there is a run blitz right here, and Tavai is going to shoot the gap right away. So, good job by Detroit right away. But watch how he runs so quickly. That center didn't have a chance. There was no way. That's Bradbury. There was no way he was going to be able to make a play on Tavai. Tavai is able to shoot the gap very quickly. He makes a very quick tackle. And that's a lot of what he can do. I think those are my two favorite things about Tavai is his awareness. That's number one, actually. He's very aware, knows what's going on most of the time on the field, which is also incredible considering the fact that he's a rookie. There's a lot of veterans who are dumber than Tavai, and a lot of them. So definitely that's one of the biggest positive attributes for Tavai. And then I think the other biggest positive attribute is just the way he gets to where he has to be so quickly. He gets to his spot so quickly. It's really crazy because, the 40-yard dash he ran at the NFL Combine was 4.86 seconds, which is not that quick. He's a linebacker. He's 250 pounds, so it's not like a mess or anything. But I would have guessed he ran like a 4.5 something because of how he plays on the field. Again, he's not like the quickest guy ever, but he gets to his spots very quickly. He picks very good angles, and he still is very fast. I think he's probably one of those guys where, he's just... for whatever reason, he's faster in game than he is in general. Some guys are like that. which is why, at the end of the day, sometimes don't fall in love at the combine. Sometimes just pick a guy who can play very well. And I think that's what Detroit did, and for a good reason. He's a good football player, and at the end of the day, good football players is how you win football. So yeah, that's what I think of Jahlani Tavai. What do you guys think of him? What did you think of his rookie season? I really liked him a lot. I think he's going to continue to have a great career. But I'd like to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.